I'm really delighted today to introduce Steph Walker. So Steph and I met through the Called to Work community, and I'll do a shout out to James Hamlin because without his
Yay!
connection at I think it was CV Digital Days where I met him. No, actually I met him on it was a different masterclass, and then I actually met him in person at the CV Digital Day. And so Steph actually works for TLG, which is Transforming Lives for Good charity. And this charity is a national children's charity, and it just helps churches to bring kind of hope in a future to those struggling children. And it could be anything from trauma to poverty and food insecurity. And yeah, sadly, I think across the UK, people may have a misconception that there isn't a lot of people facing tough starts to life, but this is a reality for a lot of children in the UK as well, of course, across the globe as well. And I would say today I want to shift the conversation or the angle of the conversation a little bit, because usually we focus on business ownership, but today Steph is obviously working for a kingdom-led business, so that's a bit of a different angle. And additionally, once Eden Hive starts actually generating a revenue, we are building our MVP right now. The aim is to absolutely sow into organizations like these, and especially knowing that there's a strong biblical foundation supporting the work that's being done there. So Steph, I'm humbled and I'm really excited, and I'm so thankful that you're giving me the 1 hour just to chat and find out a little bit more about TLG and just working for an awesome kingdom-led charity. And so I'll hand the ball over to you. If you could just introduce yourself and then just share a little bit about TLG and the work that you guys do over there.
Oh, Elle, thank you. What a privilege to talk about something that is very special to me, and very important to the world and to the Lord, I believe, as well. So thank you for that. So I'm Steph. I'm the Business Partnerships Manager at TLG. I'm married, we've got a couple of kids, the youngest has just turned 13, so they're both teens now.
Oh, wow.
And life isn't too scary in our household yet. It's still they're still pretty cool. I became a Christian 35 years ago, maybe, on an Alpha
incredible. Wow, Steph.
I worked for 19 years in the blue chip pharma industry with GlaxoSmithKline. I've been in the charity industry, complete change from that, for about 8 years with TLG. TLG is it's a very much a Christian national children's charity. The heart is for Christ to be honoured in everything we do, and we feel we're responding to the Lord's cry to reach the children and the families who are in such distress, and that the church should be part of the answer to that. So we've been, for the last 26 years, experts in trauma-informed care for children. And in terms of kind of reaching 5,000 children a year, but in terms of what we actually do, well, as an example, last year we served well over 100,000 meals to children and families in the holidays when those free school meals are stopped. That's through our Mate Lunch clubs, through churches, all through churches. And we also, we're running 10,000 one-to-one coaching sessions in schools.
My goodness, that's a lot.
It is a lot. It's for children who just can't cope with the school day. And so it's a huge privilege to be in a life that is so full of turmoil and pain and fear, and to show them light and a way forward, and to bring them hope and a future again. So it's a great place to be, in the midst of a lot to pray for, because we're in touch with the greatest needs of some of these children and families, and see those needs escalating and the pressures increasing.
Tough environments and tough political climates, and cost of living and all these different things. adding to it. And I think also obviously like the times that we live in from a biblical perspective, we'll just see, while everyone obviously says like we're at the edge of a great revival, there's like the other side of the coin is there as well. And so it's such an important role that, the Christian community then plays in kind of the dark side of it and being the light in these children's lives. And so with this specific type of charity then, is it just that you would, as within your role, you would then bring on board those specific churches and then partner with them? So it's kind of they reach out and they'll be, yes, we want to partner, and then do they then send people from the church to go to, for example, the schools to do the coaching, or would it be the charity people themselves?
No, it's all through the vision. I think was that the church should be part of the answer.
Yes.
So TLG's mission is to sort of pioneer innovative and relevant approaches for churches,
yes,
so that they can journey well with children and families in their own communities,
yes,
and really help them overcome some of the challenges they're facing. So that's our role, is to equip churches so that you can reach and minister and witness and shine light into some of the darkest corners of your own communities and turn those lives around. We're all about seeing God's transformation in lives.
Yes.
So, for example, with our early intervention program, that's the coaching in the schools.
Yes.
And we would train up members of your church congregation in trauma-informed approaches. And then we would link each of your church coaches
yes,
a child in school.
Wow.
In one of your local schools, and they go and see that child for an hour a week in school, but for a whole year, because, as you know, trauma that some of these children are experiencing, gosh, it's not a quick fix.
No.
And it can take, often, the schools are overwhelmed and enormously grateful for help, because their attendance is terrible for these kids, and they're causing complete mayhem sometimes in the classroom.
Absolutely.
Because when you're full of fear and anxiety and distrust, and there is no safe place in your life, at home, maybe, and even at school, you don't even feel safe sometimes because of some of the background situations these children are in, then it's imperative that there is a safe place and a listening ear and a coach who is separate from home and separate from school, and who can journey with them long term, who isn't just here for a quick fix in a few weeks, but gets to know them. And so the child can see that they're being loved and that they're being championed, and that there's a way forward, and that this person is seeing the gold within them for the first time. And not just the behaviour, but some of the back, and they understand some of the background, and they are still seeing the gold within them, and they're seeing their potential, and they're showing them that they can make better choices in the midst of some of their situations, and they're showing them that there's hope and that there is a future. And it's such a privilege to walk with these children. And sometimes you see that the children start attending straight away because they're having a fantastic time with their coach, and they come every, I don't know what day of the week it is, maybe a Thursday their coach comes, and they start attending school on a Thursday because it's the highlight of their week, and they're having great fun. But sometimes it can take months before
the trust
cause. Before they trust it. They're so good at masking, these kids, and protecting and trying to shield the situation from the world.
Yes.
And it can take a long, long time before the trust grows enough for them to actually express some of the background situation. And then that's where we see the real transformation take place.
Gosh.
And
no, carry on. I was just going to interrupt. I was just going to say, what an incredible way of, like, it's really sending the light into those dark places, because, and I, as from our conversation before, I understood it's not that TLG doesn't go in there and almost like evangelize to kind of turn people to God. It's really about focusing on the trauma counseling and really helping them with all those circumstances that they're in, whether it's school or home or whatever. But to know that all of these people are giving up their time, and as a believer there will be such a burden on your heart to pray for those children, that you are just the vessel, you are there, and you are just through prayer, God is the one that will light up, their eyes and kind of make them think, but what is making this person so different? They're so loving, they're so caring, and they may start be asking questions, and just to be able to then come to Christ and know that He is the answer for everything, that He is the one that is essentially the light inside of us that enables us to then do all of these things.
I think we're working in schools with early intervention, so that there's no way that we are talking about him actively in the school unless the child particularly asks us a question. But they do, because they, as you say, they see something striking that they've never experienced before, and they're really struck that this is all volunteer led. You're not being paid to come and see me. You want to do this, and you're coming every single week for a year to see me. And I think when someone feels heard and seen, when someone really feels listened to, they start to unravel in the inner core that's so knotted and so defended and so hardened. And things start to soften, and new things are possible.
Absolutely.
But our joy is that over that year, working so closely with that child, we get to know the family really well, and we get to know all the staff in the school really well, and be a light and an encouragement to them as well, of course. But the real privilege is that over that year, you form such a bond with the family and the child that you can invite them to some of the stuff that the church is doing as well. Because often the churches want to really support these families. That's why they've sent coaches into the school, and they want to be light. They want to have positive environments that these families can come to and be not judged but be blessed, to be acknowledged and loved and seen and encouraged and supported. And with trauma, any type of trauma, what is really important is that there is a long-term journey. That's nothing that's going to stop suddenly at the end of a year as though all your problems are sorted then. But that's something that outside of the programme, the church can then continue walking with this family long term, supporting them, loving them, really, really knowing them and their specific needs, and tailoring tailoring community and support and love and light around them. And that's the real privilege, that's the real blessing. That's where holistic transformation takes place, not just emotionally or mentally or situationally, but spiritually, the whole caboodle. That's the sort of transformation that God's involved in, isn't it? The whole self.
That's right.
And that's the privilege, and that's the joy of some of the stories we have on the website, for instance, the stories of transformation, and that's why I always cry when I watch them, because you see the light
cry over everything
from a dark place, and you see the transformation happen, and it is just the most amazing privilege to be part of. And that's why so many churches are now joining in. There's 120, there's 180 churches altogether partnering with TLG. But there's 121 up and down the country running early intervention, and it's called that because we want to intervene early in lives. Before some of these strongholds, negative strongholds, have taken effect and really you can turn these young lives around, and the whole trajectory of their life ahead is changed. And not just that child, but the whole family. It can be. And so that's why it's early intervention. And we work predominantly, it's about 165 primary schools, but also about 54 secondary schools as well. Because the emphasis is to get in early and really help them. So that's early intervention.
That's wonderful. And I'm just...
Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead. I'm just I'll say after you finish.
I was just thinking you were talking about the connection, the long-term connection with the church, and that opportunity. And we can't do that directly in schools until after the programme is finished. But with Make Lunch, so that was the programme with 100,000 meals last year. With Make Lunch, there's 83% of children and families who are connected to our Make Lunch programme who are directly connected right from the start with their church, who connect long term to the support of their local church.
Yeah.
And that's because Make Lunch is all about community, and it's all about belonging, and it's all about meals that matter. In the holidays when the free school meals have stopped.
Yes.
So of course there's a hot dinner that's served, but almost we want that to feel kind of not the main reason they're going.
No.
We want them to think, gosh, we've got nothing at the moment, no support. But the community just round the corner at our local church, free, are offering loads of community, fun, understanding, belonging, acceptance, help, support, fun activities for the kids.
Yes.
And we can go along, and there's a hot dinner as well, but we can go along for all those things that we're missing, because we know that for these children, gosh, the social isolation is very, very real, and they can't necessarily go to birthday parties because they can't afford a present. And they can't become members of the local soccer club with their mates because they haven't got the subs, because they can't put food on the table.
No.
They can't, they're missing out on so much socially and emotionally and societally and community-wise.
Steph.
And so that is, I think, why Make Lunch is so transformational for these families. Because that's the biggest hunger, almost spiritually, as well as the physical hunger, which in some ways is easier to satisfy. But the community and the belonging, as well as the meals that matter, that really makes the difference.
Yeah. And even like when I'm thinking about that kind of community at church, it doesn't matter whether you almost are able to, how can I put it, like you can't afford to maybe do the sports and go to the birthday party or whatever that is, but in a church community, none of that matters, because like your purpose and your destiny and your call of what God has called you to do, you are already being nurtured from a very young age within that kind of environment, that type of community, where people don't really look at your income level is at this and your income level is at that. It's like everyone is just seen as, well, I hope, as like, who are you in the spirit and what fruits have you got, and the love that you have for God, and you all have the common interest of the love of God and to do better and to help people, and the value system is just so the same that it just shows that kind of, again, God's love just absolutely outshines everything else. Like, okay, well, I don't actually care that I'm not part of the soccer club and I'm not, being able to go to the birthday party, because I've got this community and this is everything. And there's just such a blessing in, believers coming together and like having friends who kind of love God. It's just, there's like a sweetness. I almost want to think about that. I don't know if it's really an applicable verse, but it's the one about the oil from the head and going onto Abraham's beard, dripping. It's such a lovely verse. I can't remember the exact words right now, but it just reminds me of that sort of fellowship and community coming together. And then when you were talking about almost like the coaching aspect, it's true that people may always think, oh, well, the enemy's only going to come, when you kind of an adult, or like there's some people may not understand that actually that you must be very vigilant and aware of what's going on in your children's lives, because if your children has a big calling from God, especially as believers, like we obviously like have eagle eyes on our kids, but you see the calling on those children's lives and how the enemy can come. He always comes in young. Every single testimony that I've heard, it's like, when I was a child, this happened. When I was a child, I went through this, or the abuse or whatever. And then, of course, the brain and how the brain responds to trauma and the nervous system, those strongholds forming. And this is just such an awesome, absolutely like getting to the root cause immediately, fighting the enemy back in this way where it's like, well, no, whatever the enemy's meant for evil, God is now turning that for good by sending these light bearers into the darkness and just making such a transformation. Like I just love it so much. And then my one question about the lunches, so would that also be like at the church? So that's where people will go and that's where the community will be. And then does TLG then supply the meal, or how does the dynamic of that work? I'm just interested, probably for my own personal
No, of course. I think
information.
churches are great at food, aren't they? Just generally.
Yes, I love it.
Do food well. And we're in generally buildings with kitchens
Yes.
that can prepare food. And so TLG does all the training and the safeguarding and the standards and the menus and the support structures and how to run these and make them successful and connect successfully to the neediest in your community, and have a club that is long running and that's going to be able to sustain and serve for years to come and be known and recognised as a light in the community. And so we've got all the training and all the support and all the experience, and we also bring people together very regularly for training and to swap best practice and top tips. So we often hear the stories from Make Lunch clubs they've put on loads and loads of activities for the kids. So there's loads of Christmas parties, there's hampers, there's sometimes trips to the seaside in the summertime. And some of these kids have never been to the beach before.
People don't realize even, people living in middle class lives don't realize that actually not everyone can just get in a car and drive to the coast or go to the park. The kid, if their parents are struggling with addiction, they're not going to take their kid to the park every weekend to play they're too young to go on their own. So they are just stuck in between the four walls at home. There's nothing.
Theatre companies, there's clubs that reptiles in for them to hold an iguana and just experiences that they're missing out on and they shouldn't be, and we can just broaden their horizons and open up their eyes to some goodness and opportunity and potential in their own life. And I think we feel that we've spent 26 years getting ready for a time such as this, because
oh my gosh, yes,
we're in the middle of this mental health crisis, and this the cost of living pressures are just carrying on and on and on to people. And the stats are so terrible, Elle. There's 910,000 children and young people referred to CAMHS in the last year. That's about 1 in 5 who've got a probable mental health condition of our children. And
that is a lot.
I mean, if that isn't breathtaking enough, the real issue, I think, is that the waiting lists are horrendous. They're spending well over a year before they're being assessed, 392 days before they're even being assessed, and that's where the terrible damage is happening. So 26% of these children and young people are attempting to take their own lives while they're waiting to be.
I was going to say that just that came to mind immediately. It's like if you're in that waiting period and you're so desperate and all alone.
It's crisis for these kids and these families. The whole family is in crisis. And so to have expertise as we have with trauma-informed care for children, and to be able to train churches well in how to reach out effectively and to do good and not harm.
That's the other thing,
You're
not just running rogue.
That's really important to us as a charity. So we started up our coaching academy as well, which is to train churches who want to reach and be of use and meet need in their communities for children, and then are having an influx and are experiencing so much behaviour that they've never come across before. And we want to equip them in how to meet need of emotional trauma and crisis, and to really do good and accelerate healing for these children. And so Coaching Academy is training for the youth workers in your church, and it's proper accredited coaching training so that churches can be great hubs.
That's really awesome. And I think also, it's like this, it's just access to people that immediately have the heart, who want to help, that have the heart for children, and just bodies, because within the medical circles and stuff, then it's the process and the waiting lists and the cost, or I don't know, NHS is free, but sometimes there is cost if you have maybe seeing psychiatrist, or I don't know, whatever happens in the world of mental health. And so even though those things may exist, it's not that these people from maybe a underprivileged background like can just always get access to exactly the thing that they need now, whereas this just gives that access. And like I keep coming back to light, because I just really see it as this light beacon, like just going into this real dark space. And it's just, oh my gosh, you like the answer to prayer. Or not that, maybe the kid didn't pray, but who knows, they might have prayed or thought, well, maybe God can help me. And then there we are, there's people that's willing and love the light and the love of Jesus, just coming in and just helping them in the darkness. It's just incredible.
And I think it's so important for the church to be a light in their own community, and that's visible. Because I think everything in the news and the media has been so negative about the church. All you ever hear is negativity. And we want to say, look at this undeniable good nationwide at a huge scale, reaching very obvious need at this time through church. And we're also setting up, this is new, but we're setting up our therapeutic hubs, TLG therapeutic hubs, so the church can house a trained counsellor and volunteer counsellors and some of the therapeutic coaches with early intervention as well, and some trainees who want to get experience in the community. And this is going to be the place that the community sees and knows as a place of healing, a place of light, and they're used to walking through the door to receive. So our therapeutic hubs are just launching and they're new, and that's an exciting new innovation that we're pioneering for churches at the moment, because that witness to the community and being a place to come for healing.
Steph, that's incredible.
It's a need, isn't it?
That is where you can then share the gospel and share, because it's not within the church, right? So will that be, or will it still be just more focused on?
It's within a therapeutic hub, will generally be within a church building.
Right. So there you can literally pray.
The therapeutic session itself will be very much according to the needs of the person, of course, and it won't be a blast of Christianity for them.
No.
Immediately outside the door, if they want extra support and people to walk alongside them and reach some of the other areas and give them fellowship and community, there will be family champions from the church who can signpost and let them know what's available to them in their local church. And so that's really important. That's why TLG is all about the local church being involved in anything that we do, because long-term support and walking in community and strength and good people around you is really, it's really important, isn't it? It's
especially
how we
I think and like when that darkness hits, it's like you need the community. The enemy loves isolation, so he loves for people to just kind of go, oh, no one will understand, and like I'm all alone and whatever. But actually come into the love and the light of God in that community, and they will pray you through, they'll lift you up. Or like with TLG, it's like a gateway to God, but it's like the hook, like you see the love and the light, and then that kind of takes them on the journey closer to Jesus. It's just people don't always realize that is actually one of the answers, is just get into the community. And that's exactly what you guys are doing, is just creating that so that there is availability for that. And I think we've also spoken, I don't know if I spoke to you, but it's like we got a report through our parent network that I'm part of it in my workplace, about isolation being the number one issue in the UK right now. And that ticks another box, which is literally the biggest issue. I think it was a Bright Horizons report actually, that is the number one issue across the entire UK is loneliness. But that means it goes together. But loneliness is the number one thing. So creating these communities to, again, address one of the biggest issues that this country is facing. It's just incredible just how God's leading, and just knowing where there's need, and he's just making a way, which is incredible. I just love it.
I think when when the Lord sees a need and he knows this isn't right, this isn't his heart for children, this isn't his heart for
No,
families. And
no,
so he places that passion in our hearts
absolutely.
and says, go and roll up your sleeves and go and do something about
That's
it.
right.
And
Yes.
we know that the transformation is huge, and we've got so many stats about early intervention and the impact of it.
Wow.
For instance, a child who's been through early intervention in their school, having the coaching each week, is
Yeah.
60% less likely to be excluded.
Oh,
And there are so many stats. But it's the transformation, the light that comes back, the joy,
That's
the fun,
right.
the cheekiness that comes back into their life again. For the
Yes.
child who's been so frightened and alone and sullen and without hope. And when you
Yes.
see the personality coming back, and when you see the spark come back into their eye, and the cheekiness and the
Yeah.
fun coming back again,
Yeah.
that's what God wants.
Yes.
People
Exactly that.
to reach our potential. And
Yeah.
and I think this, you talked about it earlier about the revival in church and how
Yes.
youth is responding.
Yes.
And there's a real need in children's lives. We need to be there to meet that need, to show them.
That's right.
The greatest one is that can fulfill need and bring
Yeah.
wholeness and transformation.
Yeah.
And so working with children and families is a real missional field for churches.
Yeah.
And our goal at the charity is to equip so that
Wow.
more and more children can be touched.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And family and children, both, like the family dynamic and children themselves, is just such a, I think God has such a heart for that, right? He's all about just the family and, like, do not despise little ones coming to me and all of that. It's just, yeah, he'll just be in the middle of everything. And when you were talking about, the bad things that's happening, that God doesn't have a heart for those things to happen. Like, I've also just reminded and wanted to add that, sometimes people might go, oh, well, why does God let it happen? And it's God doing these things. If God loved children, why didn't he do this and this? And to me, I'm not like here to preach a sermon, or I'm not like a pastor or anything, but it's just coming back to, it's not God letting bad things, it's not his heart for these things to happen. You need to really understand and go read the Bible to have a concept for why sin and all these different things are happening. And, you can get into like a whole lot of a web of kind of discussion on how these things come about. But one thing is for sure, it's not God, doing the bad things to us. He is not a God that's like, wanting to have a child go through trauma and abuse and all these different things. Like, there's very much a real enemy, and he is the one that's doing these bad things because he hates us and he hates our children. And he's not a respecter. No, obviously God is not a respecter of persons, but the enemy isn't either. He will go for the baby and he'll go for the toddler. And you just
I think that's why
Yeah.
there's benefit in us being a Christian charity, because
Yeah.
it's a spiritual battle out there.
Yes.
And we are fueled by prayer. We start
Yes.
every day with all staff coming together for half an hour to pray.
That's
Because
incredible. Wow.
we need his leading. We need to be following his path in what we do and how we do it, and we need protection.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Standing in dark places on somebody else's turf
Yes.
and reclaiming
Steph.
lives for light. And so
Yes.
we need to be hugely prayer fueled to
Yeah.
do that work, and it has to be through his people who are praying in the background
Yeah.
for these lives,
Yeah.
for these young lives,
Yeah.
and for the next 70 years of those lives, so that they can
Yeah.
be turned around and walk and see goodness.
Gosh, I love
So
that.
it's so important that Christian organisations and Christian charities exist, I think, for that
Yeah.
reason.
I've seen a very interesting, almost like an org chart or something somewhere. I don't know, like you just get flooded with so much information, but it's like someone had this org chart of their organization and that they are actually employing a full-time intercessor just to pray over their business. That's part of their org structure. It's almost like what I would always in my mind see God as the board, the board, the head of the board, and then you've got like your CEO and all these different things. Like there's a box for everyone, and they legit had a prayer, like an intercessor, as part of their leadership team. And so when you were talking about, obviously this is one of those things, working for a kingdom led business or charity. I experienced the same when I worked for this lovely guy. He's still there for an auditing firm at the time. I think they just did auditing and taxes and stuff. And same thing, whatever religion or background you are, you better know we're going to have opening prayer and opening, reading from the Bible every day. And he's doing really well. And like even when we go for offsites conferences, there will be opening prayer. That is just the way that it is. And I just love that. It's just
strange because having spent 19 years in blue chip pharma and then coming to this environment,
black and white.
Starting with worship, I think the worship, I go to a very conservative small church in my community, and yet the worship at work is where my soul soars. It's very beautiful, and the prayer and fasting days that we have at work, and the continual commitment to bring everything to him, it's critical for a business. It's critical for any work, isn't it?
Yes.
And it's wonderful for me to be in a work environment where I can be wholly able to do that. It's a privilege.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so out of there's obviously a couple of things that you've mentioned now. Is there anything else that you can say is really deliberately super different from pharma industry to coming into this charity that you can say, okay, we're doing prayer and fasting, we're doing the worship, we're doing the opening prayer. Is there anything else that looks really different? Because I'm always interested to know what that looks like when you're actually working in, this is a kingdom-led charity. This is all about God. This is your foundation of what you do. And for me, building what I'm building, I always have the vision about, like I said, God is the board, head of the board, and I'm, having an intercessor, and, we kind of having I don't know, a prayer session or prayer meeting, and just kind of trying to almost have my vision of what I want my business to look like one day. And, I don't know, have a retreat where we're all just going to go and, do worship and just hang out and fellowship. We just had a
retreat last year, actually.
Oh my gosh.
It was prayer-based retreat for all the staff, and it's a great privilege. It is a great privilege. I think the difference between, for instance, because there's a charity out there for everything, isn't there?
Absolutely.
And my plea, I think, to people listening is to support Christian charities. If you're going to support, if you have a cause that's close to you, there will be a Christian charity that's doing the same stuff.
That's right.
Support the Christian charity that's doing the same stuff for multiple reasons, really. First of all, because the Christian charity is doing it with a heart to honour God.
Yes.
And they are doing it to be prayer fueled. They're doing it seeking his protection and seeking his guidance and seeking his will in doing it.
Yeah.
But also it's really tough out there for Christian charities. I think generally the charity environment at the moment is tough for any charity.
That's right.
Giving is down in every quarter, of course, because we're in the middle of all these crises.
Yes.
But for a Christian charity where, for instance, you can't apply for a lot of the grants because they say no religious organisations must apply, and so there's a fraction of the availability, and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of charities applying for every grant anyway. Or because I'm the business partnership manager, for instance, and so I used to spend time talking to secular businesses who were wowed by what we do, until I talked about the fact that our model was to work through churches as social impact hubs in communities everywhere. And then they would drop us. Oh, we can't justify that to our staff and our community and our clients. And so the need for Christian charities is even more acute. And so my plea is to, please, if you want to support charity, if you have a cause that's close to your heart, find a Christian charity.
Yeah.
And then you have to find a Christian charity that's got enduring Christian integrity over years and years and years, because it's very hard to be whittled away over time, to to accept some of the money or the grants that are going to slightly compromise your Christian values in some way or another, as all businesses come across all the time as well.
Yeah.
And it's saying no to the money that could, without God,
Yes.
you alive as
Yes.
a charity, and saying no to that because it's not going to fulfill your original mission. It's not true to the entirety of who you are before God, and declining that and trusting that he will provide, and he always has for 26 years, but it's close to the knuckles sometimes.
Wow.
And it improves your prayer life enormously.
Yes.
But you see him work miraculously again and again and again because of that.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to ask. Obviously, you were talking about, you are going into dark places and stepping on the enemy's turf in a lot of ways. Is it that you guys, like, I don't know if there's any really out of this world attack or warfare or whatever it is that you may have faced, like a difficulty or something that you could say, wow, like God has really just stepped in and like resolved this for us, or even for you yourself within your walk, within this kind of space, because it is just how it is, right? You are building something for God, with faith in the middle. And like I said on my blog, even like last year, the enemy's not going to sit with a box of popcorn and just be all happy with what you're doing. There may be resistance and some attacks and warfare and things will come, but it's just about, knowing that we are fighting from a place of victory. We have won, and, God is not the loser, the enemy is. So we just need to pray and like get through those things. But yeah, just any, I don't know, like a short little something that comes to mind, or not really.
I think with businesses in mind, because TLG is all about pioneering and innovation for churches to be able to reach these children, because we're pioneering new things all the time, like the coaching academy and like the therapeutic hubs. It's as with any business new venture that you're trying for God and you're testing, is this what we're hearing? Is this you, Lord? Is this the way forward? And you're piloting stuff, and some of it works and some of it doesn't work, and shutting down some of the old programs that we used to run and letting go. That was really painful a few years ago, when some of the original ways we worked at TLG were kind of had to close. They weren't viable anymore, and that was kind of really difficult. And in COVID, having to react on a penny, spin round and do things completely differently, because you can't make lunch, can you? You can't, and the stores were shut, so we couldn't go in. So we sort of did door-to-door boxes of hope. And we did online coaching, which was brand new. Back in the day.
Gosh, yes, even at work, it was everything had to go online, and people like the training and the learning and development stuff. And it
made a huge impact.
Big change.
People who, these families, as I've already discussed, even now are incredibly isolated.
Yes.
But in COVID, obviously, it was terrible. And to have somebody actually knock on their door, and then stand at the end of the driveway, social distancing, but leaving a huge hamper. And they know the family really well, and they know they need size 4 nappies because of the age of the baby, and they know what they're short of, and they'll just stand there and chat for half an hour and ask how they are and provide support. And as well as food and activities for the children and mental health stuff, and all of that was hugely impactful to people, and showing love and community again at a really key time. So it's adapting and continually listening to what God's saying, isn't it?
Yes.
Change, and how he wants you to do what you do changes, and it's being alive to that, isn't it?
Just keep God in the middle, stay close to him. We've got 1 minute left that I have to run, but this was really awesome. As I said, we sometimes just don't even get to any of the questions that I had in mind. But Steph, where's the best place for people to connect with TLG and sort of, just, I don't know, is it only a church that can come and connect, or can people also connect? I'll obviously get your details and put it all on the social media posts and things. But just tell us what is the best approach for people to help and support.
Go to the website. That's the simplest thing.
That's the easiest.
www.tlg.org.uk.
Amazing.
Churches can go, they can learn about early intervention and make lunch and therapeutic hubs and the coaching academy. See if it's right for your church.
Yes.
Individuals can come, see what's right for you, how you want to respond. Maybe you want to donate financially, maybe you want to give your time as a coach, maybe, come and explore. Maybe you want to book us for one of our expert church talks.
Yeah.
Come and explore. If you're a business, I run the business partnerships, and any size of business can join in. As a Brighter Horizons business or as a future builder business, if you're a bit bigger, come and look at business partnerships on the website and you can guide me through that.
That's amazing.
But come and explore whichever way your heart has been stirred. Go and explore because God would love you to join in.
Yes, I'm excited. Yeah. Steph, I'm so thankful for your time and just for everything that is happening at TLG. And I don't know, when God is in the middle of it, He will sustain you. He will just keep accelerating and bless the work that you are doing. And wow, just knowing kind of the times that we are moving in, and people are all talking about the end time revival and the harvest and all these different things. Like, I can't even imagine the explosion that's coming for anyone like within the kingdom-led spaces. So yeah, I'm excited. But thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Elle. Thank you so much.
Really thankful. Yeah, thank you so much.